New York style pizza on Sunday. The family style. It's pretty good. Yeah. That's probably one of my favorite.
Like this week, get up there, hang out for a minute.
I will tell you that.
See the game Thursday night. But they're playing through seats. It's close.
No, I think it's been
It's only a 6-hour game.
not good.
NFL or CFL?
More than I need to know.
Yeah. I'm gonna put that over there.
But I'm sure we got that on the record.
Yeah.
So for the record, you want to give your name and address?
No, I do not.
So our friends at home know where to stay away.
I always forget about that damn thing.
Is your boy done playing baseball?
Yeah.
Is he doing the playoffs at all? Mr. Trotter?
They
Is it a problem if I relay that to you here?
Lost.
It's just really.
Yeah, but Clark was there. He was in South Carolina.
David's going to be sitting down with it.
Because there was some confusion until we decided to talk about it.
You were going to start sending something along for
Because it ends up being confusing.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I'll pass that on to Janice.
And I saw, I had emails from the Bocce.
Oh, okay. So it's Columbia River Carbonates want an update on their facility.
I signed up with that building.
So I forwarded them to you. That was my fault because they've been sending those to us directly. And I totally forgotten about forwarding them to you. But they've been arguing this whole time because of what, yeah, that they don't want to do sprinklers because of what the process is.
I'll have to look at that. Is there a role at your office?
There is not, so I don't have a paper roll. It's all electronic.
I will see. But if it's at the moment, so I put something in there for electronic or
Okay.
more.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I've been trying to switch to everything electronic, so
The plans of you I need them. And we have a grant out. Grant to pay for it. Can't hard to buy it in front of us.
I have the schedule. I just already on it.
yeah.
But we should hopefully get the award.
Do you know what kind of application you're thinking about software that's in the buying? Is it Bluebeam?
I'm not certain. And I need to see like the smart card that I don't know. I'm trying to decipher what they have. If they actually have actual language software or if it's just editing. I did enough to put a budget together for the plan.
What's interesting is
and then he does baseball.
Bluebeam has a feature where if we were to buy Bluebeam and I send plans to you, you can download the free set of Bluebeam, but it's only a few only. But if I send plans to you and I have the full thing, you can use all of my tools on mine. Because basically what you do is you create a virtual conference room, you put the plans on the table in that virtual conference room. Anybody who goes into that room can use all of my tools. But if you were to create a conference room and put plans on the table, you only have the view tools so that if I go into your conference room, I can only view.
Notice it.
So the reason why I bring that up is some of these funds that we use if I were to buy that software, you'd be able to use all of my tools.
I thought we still have to do it because we're doing it. Are you looking at that software?
Yeah. Well, and that's what we picked in Beaverton, and I'm a huge total fan of it.
Yeah.
And it's like that
What's the structure?
software.
Full plan. Interfaces with the code as well as type code sections.
Yeah, so you can reference all of that stuff and tie it to it. What's awesome is you put it on that table in the conflict room, so you can be reviewing it and making comments like on page 6, and Les can be looking at it and making comments on page 12 at the exact same time. And when you flip to page 12, you'll see Les typing. And if you flip to page 6, you'll see me typing. It's like fully automated. It's like super cool.
Does it work for field inspections also?
They have that. There is that module. I've never seen it in action, but I'm told that Groovy is the bomb on that side. So.
Because it's something I want to get one that does it all.
Yes.
Yeah. Making notes.
Yeah.
There's a 13-year-old friend.
And it's all one word. And you can go online and you can do any PDF document. So you can take out photos, and put markups on photos and save them and send them to people. It's yeah. And you can, and if you get a document in PDF, you can convert it to Word and then make changes and then convert it back to PDF and send it back. It's like, yeah. It's like, it has more features than I would ever possibly learn in a lifetime. Right?
Can you tie it in with permitting? You're going to manage all those records together?
That part I don't know, because Beaverton, they were looking at a new permitting system and electronic plan review. So rather than picking their permitting system, they picked their plan review, and now that they have a plan review, they're going to find a permitting system that works with it. So rather than buying the permit system and then finding a plan, they did it backwards, and it was brilliant.
I think it makes sense. Yet the rest is not that complex.
Yeah, because they basically went from paper everything to electronic plan review like in 3 months and implemented it. And now they're looking for the permit system, and that'll take like 2 years.
I'll take a look. Thank Excuse me. Shoot. Yeah, you went up. Did you get your I Yes, okay. Yeah. How you doing?
Hi, good. How are you doing?
Good.
Every once in a while, my job, I'm going around to J Hooks, going around to go get the other. Wham! I want to walk with the ego. Next thing I know, I'm on my shoulder.
How's the drive down?
Good, uneventful. Just a little bit of construction around
It's tough. It's tough.
We have a working on an agreement, developers agreement. What's your schedule like? Is it busy? It's up to if you are, but I just.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the office tomorrow and then the office Wednesday.
So you're not all day tomorrow?
What's that?
Yes. So anytime.
Yeah, if you, I mean, because I have that, I mean, if you want to see me down,
Maybe what I'll do is I'll send you the agreement.
Okay, is that
And
Tracy
I'll
doing
circle the
that?
areas where I need
Or
to
is that you guys?
Yeah, and that's where this came from. I was surprised when
okay, sure. Also, did you want to, I mean, with this video construction, I want this to change order. I mean, the only issue that we're solving is the change order. I don't think you want anything wrong.
No, I think
I just wanted, because it's so like it's
But did you see my comments on it? Okay, that's it.
Okay.
So I pretty much agree with you, Tommy. I'm afraid if I get stops,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm not everything that you said, I agree. There's no
Is there, if you float over the picture, does it give you an alternative? Or, yeah.
and it's so obvious that there's an and why would you have a drive if you couldn't?
Turn off the light. Those are kind of my comments.
So how are we going to do this? To me, it seems like we need to talk.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, but I think they'll, after I put the comments in there, tell what my thoughts are. I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
So that's my comments.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay, so I'll send this to you and I'll circle where I'm having wording issues with him, and then I'll call you.
Okay.
I'm gonna call this all day for the next 3 days for a water cost, so if you say, hey, I'll send it to you because I'll keep my phone with you, so kind of this time sounds good, I'll try to call it.
Okay.
That'll work.
Sounds good. There was a
See on this picture, she's working nights.
Now, why do we have to have a managers meeting as well?
Oh, okay. Well, that's retirement, so that's 20.
Oh, he's in his 50s.
Yeah.
How's the audit going? Are they giving us any feedback?
Not yet. The first campus.
As we were about doing things, I wrote my email. Building on a stroke attack. I don't drive it very often, but when I drive, it has one door. Just looks at me every single time. But I try that part. I know. I get one out there. I try to park close, so
You're wrong. You're wrong.
Oh, my mistake, my apologies, Mr. Benjamin. I thought you said 53. I thought you said 53. Now it's 59.
I'll go for 850.
I'll keep it simple.
I can't because I'm in a waterworks training for the next 3 days. I can send an email to the mayor. I know Mary can't go. I'd like to go, but I've been there before when I was working with. They're actually I have good bread.
We're going to call the meeting to order. It's 7 p.m. and would Ms. Rip call the roll call? Or we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance first, excuse me.
Yep.
Okay, would everyone rise, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have citizens' communications for items. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I skipped that, all right. Ms. Rip, would you do the roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Grant?
Here.
Councilmember Rounds?
Here.
Councilmember Plaza?
Here.
Councilmember Chapman?
Here.
Councilmember Hubbard? Here. Councilmember Fredericks?
Here.
Councilmember Benjamin?
Here.
And
Thank
you just may want to announce that you're sitting in as Mayor Pro Tem tonight.
Okay, I am Carol Round, setting in for as Mayor Pro Tem. The mayor's out of town this evening, so bear with me. We will go to citizens' communications for items not on the agenda. If anyone, let's have Jeannie Blessing. Do you want to speak? Okay. Tanya Howie. Okay.
Can two of us come up together, or?
Sure. State your name and address, please.
Okay. I'm Tanya Howie, 1400 Woodside Street, apartment 123, and
I'm Patty Christopher, 1400 Woodside, number 129.
Thank you.
and we're here representing a group behind us here. We're all living at Hawthorne House.
Okay.
And we're here to find out what we need to do or what the steps are to get a painted crosswalk between, they have a ramp there in front of our back gate that goes towards Safeway. But we need a painted crosswalk across to the other side of the street. Whether it be straight or a diagonal, doesn't matter, but what do we have to do to get that?
Well, I think I would probably have to defer to Mrs. Coleman, maybe, I don't know.
Yes, so I know that's been looked at in the past, and I'm not sure if we address it now or we take it and get back to them.
Okay. We will address that and get back to you.
Okay.
Can I also state a couple safety things that we're
Yes.
concerned with? We have, as you know, disabled and elderly, and some of them have not full mental capacity. There's not enough room even because the cars park so close to our ramp, that, especially like on a scooter, I have to get out in the street to see if there's cars coming. And by then, sometimes they've slammed on their brakes. And also, there are signs up that have a person and an arrow, a person walking and an arrow, but cars don't know where people are going to come out at. So they have no way of knowing where to start slowing down, because they race up and down that street all the time.
Okay. Well, thank you for bringing it to our
Thank you
attention, and
for
we'll address that.
listening to us.
Thank you.
I have to kind of make a little view in here to get around.
Jewel Wilkins, did you want to speak? No? Okay. Okay. I'm going to go down the line just in case. Patty Christopher?
That was me.
Okay. Maria Ficken? Okay. Aaron Swift?
I would just like to say that having a crosswalk would help me. I keep a walker with me to the grocery store the same way, and it would just help me to be able to put it back up on the ramp, because I almost fall over the walker every time I come on the same way. So I don't know, I'm not thinking that's part of the, but I think that it could be addressed within the concern.
Okay. Thank you. Dwayne Oakley?
Hi, Dwayne Oakley, 1400 Woodside Street, number 128. And I just wanted to add, I agree totally with everybody here, of course, but there's a lot of traffic at certain times of day coming from the industrial area, and we seem to be the first street that they can come to, and then we have the fast food joints, Safeway's Deli, whatnot, and there's certain times, it's kind of like a school crossing, it's like certain times of day you have a lot of traffic, and it's a steady stream of traffic, and these people are in a hurry. And other times, you can walk out there, and there's nobody, there's no cars, But in the mornings, midday there, around lunchtime, and then when they get off work especially, it's not nearly as bad, I don't think, as when they back up by the Walmart there, but there is a need there for people to slow down. There's no speed bumps, there's no speed limit sign, anything like that. So, there's probably lots of improvements can be done there. And I'm not sure what development's coming in, especially with the motel that just sold, whether there's going to be more fast food there or whatnot. But it seems to be a real funneling point from that area, So, thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor? Did everybody leave their contact information on the sign-in sheet so we can let them know, or is there one person that we should get back to?
They did leave everyone left their address, Mary, and a phone number.
I apologize.
I'm the chairman of our tenant group, so
Maybe just corresponding with you?
with me or with Lori, yeah, she's also a great help for us and a good one to get a hold of.
She is our resident coordinator inside the Hawthorne House.
Okay.
She works for.
And we do have her information there. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone that did not sign the list that would like to speak for communications for items not on the agenda? Yes?
I'm Shirley Kluge. I live at 1774 Meriwether Lane. Apologize for not getting myself on the list, but I do have a request for you to consider. The Friends of Woodland Community Library are putting on our second annual Bocce Ball Tournament, August 25th, that's Saturday, and we'll be using both the Hoffman Park and the Community Center for part of our activities. And I noticed this long before this came up, the Bocce Ball Tournament. The size of the waste baskets inside the community center are totally inadequate. They're much too small, and when you have a fair-sized event there, it's multiple unloadings and refillings with bags, stuff overflowing all over the bathroom floor. And since we do expect a pretty good crowd, I would really love it if the budget could fit in 2 new waste containers, one for the kitchen and one for the bathroom of the community center. And if not, I'll talk to you earlier next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for communications for items not on the agenda? Yes.
My name is John Wynn. I live at 739 Dale Street here in Woodland. On Dale and Robbins, while there's a stop sign there's no white stripe across the street. And people are just driving through that without giving any slowdown whatsoever. I've seen everything from kids driving small cars to semis go through there without stopping. I don't know if they can't see the sign. I don't know what the deal is. And so I was thinking maybe the white stripe might help. Another thing is down there in my neck of the woods, there seems to be a lack of street lights. And so whenever the, whatchamacallit puts on right around the corner. Is it the Grange right around there? That puts on their plays?
Oh, no, the Love Street Playhouse.
Yeah, the Love Street Playhouse, yeah. Whenever they put on their plays, there's lots of people that are parking, and it's dark out there whenever they get out. I know a couple of people that have had a few incidences, because I sit right there, and yeah, I can see. And I don't know if this is something you guys take care of, or the post office does, but in front of the mailboxes for the area where I live at, there's no yellow stripe or anything, and people constantly park there. And when people are parked in front of the mailboxes, they won't deliver. Aside from that, I think that's it right now. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll look into that for you. Anyone else for communications, items not on the agenda? Okay. How about citizens' communications for items on the agenda? Okay. I guess we'll go to the agenda approval.
Madam Mayor, did anybody want to speak on the fireworks proposed change?
Anyone here or anyone in the audience? Would anyone in the audience like to speak on the fireworks changes, the code WMC 14.28?
I'm curious of what they are. What is the change? What did you do?
Well,
There's a,
the city did a survey. They're looking at maybe, I don't think they're shortening the length of time that they sell fireworks, but possibly the amount of time that they can set fireworks off. We're going to have a workshop on it this evening, but people can't speak at the workshop, so now is the time if you want to say anything in regards to the fireworks. But we are looking at the fireworks, so.
And then also in front of the council, I had emailed and given you a hard copy tonight of the comments that were received on the survey since we did that last week.
Okay. I guess no one wants to speak? Okay. So I guess we'll go to the agenda approval.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
second.
It's been approved and second to approve the agenda. Ms. Ripp, would you take the roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Benjamin?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We're moving on to reports of standing committees. We will go to Public Works. They met August the 6th, 2018. Next meeting is going to be at 5:30 on Tuesday, September the 4th, at the council chambers conference room,
Can we verify the time?
5:30. Mr. Benjamin has a conflict with being able to be there at 4:30, so it's going to be at 5:30.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, whoever the chairman of the public works is.
Okay. Tracy, would you like to report on the Public Works meeting this evening, please? Since I wasn't there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I want to thank everybody who's in this audience right now for being here, because all of your complaints are going to be what I'm going to be talking about tonight. And I thank you for being here because I need your support. So there you go. I'll start out with that. So, but wait till I know what I'm asking for. So we'll start with that. So be careful what you ask for. Okay. So I'll start first on, so I'm in Public Works, and so Public Works has water, sewer, streets, everything you guys are talking about, the stop bars, painting of curbs, crosswalks, that's my department. So listen up, here we go. So the water treatment plant improvements, we'll start with that. We have sent our job out for advertisement, and we expect bids for the end of the month to come in to do our improvements on our water treatment plant. So that's one thing we have going on. And then also our dewatering screw press, which is going on at the wastewater treatment plant. We received the updated O&M manual from Gibson Olson. We've reviewed that, and we have some final revisions to go into place in order to have that manual match our current screw press that we have at the wastewater treatment plant. And then we have the sidewalk downtown revitalization extension, which I had talked about, placing bids out for curb and gutter, which is to fix the curb and gutter right there in front of the dollar store. It's kind of, we have a crumbling curb and gutter situation. We have postponed that due to budget restraints that are dollars that were approved in our street fund have totally been accounted for and are depleted, which we knew going into it this year with a low budget amount. So I want to let you know that we will not be going out to bid for that. Also, Gehrig, State Route 503, the intersection right there on State Route 503 in Gehrig, that is going to be scheduled to start September 2018 from Washington State Department of Transportation, so that'll be happening. It was originally scheduled for August, now it's going for September. Then we have our CDBG fund grant that we went out for. We were originally went out for was $171,000. We were awarded $84,000. They came back and upped us an additional $24,000, so it went up to $108,000. They gave us some additional funds, so now we're at $114,000. So that's a good sign. So that is to work on handicap ramps, ADA ramps, which is all around where you guys are located at, which will be. We're looking at putting sidewalks in back on Park Street that goes on that back road behind the Astro gas station. And then we're looking at putting in ADA ramps all along and throughout, probably from Washington, Beechwood, all along Pacific Avenue to help with accessibility. So that's, yeah. So the Columbia is not part of that right now. So we only had so many dollars, and so we have to go, and we have a certain area that CDBG allows funds. So that's one thing that will be going in, so you see an improvement there for accessibility. Potholes within the city. We patched approximately 15 more potholes on the streets within the city, but we are going to have to stop now because, again, the funds have been depleted for our streets. Street sweeping, we may not be able to sweep the streets in November because we did it in the spring. The dollars are accounted for, so we don't have dollars to sweep our streets in the fall. We usually do it in spring and fall, so we don't have the dollars in the budget for that. Curb painting, we do have dollars in the budget for curb painting, so that's a good sign. So if you have a certain curb that you need painted for restricted access for parking, just let us know. You can send that in an email to us, or you mentioned that today, so we'll take a look at that. And you guys also mentioned it for your crosswalk area.
Yeah, I was going to say, that would be really helpful.
We'll be
to
looking
know
at that.
how close to park to that.
Yeah, and we just actually did some painting there, which I think you're aware of. We actually painted some curbs right there at Carl's Jr. and McDonald's. We took out some parking along there, and we painted some yellow curbs before you go into Safeway. So we did take out parking along that area for better visibility. So Torch Down, which is something that you were talking about on Dales and Robbins, that's the white stop bar that you were talking about. We have depleted our funds for Torch Down. We don't have any more dollars for Torch Down.
So that has been put to a halt. And then we also have asphalt repair projects. We typically go out to bid every year. And this year we have 13 locations. And since we don't have any money in our budget, that will not be happening. And then, so there's good news and bad news, obviously. And then also, we'll go a little bit into our new industrial park, the 400 acres. So we received the feasibility study for that, and we're still doing an evaluation on there's 2 running applicants for that feasibility study, and we're still doing an evaluation and background checks on who would be best suited to do that for the city of Woodland. So that hopefully will be brought to next council, a recommendation as to why we'd like to choose a certain contractor for that. Let's see, what else do I have here? I have grants and miscellaneous. This is the good stuff. So we actually are going to be presenting, we submitted our presentation, resubmitted for the RCO grant dollars, and that's why I was not here at the last council meeting, which you guys are aware of. And we have a revised PowerPoint presentation to present for dollars for the city of Woodland. That's going to be happening on August 13th. I'll be down in Olympia presenting on that. Safe Routes to School and the pedestrian bicycle program. We heard back from WashDOT, and they gave us an update stating they wanted to touch base with us, and they're reviewing our project. And that's the sidewalks that go from Gehrig and State Route 503 all the way to the intermediate school, putting sidewalks all along State Route 503. So we're still working with them on that. We passed phase 1 round, and now we're in phase 2 for application review, which is a great sign. So again, don't forget, if we do receive funding for this, which we're talking over $3 million, there's going to be a match from the city of Woodland required, so everybody needs to be aware of that. We received, as you're aware, the grant dollars for the flagpole that we have, that we used to be at the old post office, and we're working on engineering right now to get it hooked to the new city hall, or to our current city hall annex building. And then we received other grant dollars, and we received those from the Port of Woodland. The Port of Woodland graciously gave us grant dollars to make the Hoffman Park ADA accessible for one of the playground areas, which will be between the library and the community center. We're now going to make that ADA accessible with a ramp going from the sidewalk into that little park area. And then the other 2 park playground areas at Hoffman Park will have new borders around them and engineered wood chips in there. So we were able to get the grant to be able to finish up the Hoffman Park. So that's kind of some good news. So all I'm going to say with all that is, it sounds like bad news, but it's not, because you guys are all here. So if we ever go out to have something voted upon, please vote yes, so we can get dollars in for our streets, because all I want to do is go through the city and improve the ADA accessibility, our streets, and the mobility within the city as a whole. So sometimes we go out asking for dollars or ask for bonding, and for you guys to vote on that. So make sure you get out and vote positive, so we can continue to fix our city to make it friendly for handicap ability.
Can I ask, are you going to paint the curbing there where our ramp is? Is that what you were?
So we paint curbs throughout the city as we receive complaints as far as accessibility, no parking. Like if there's a no parking sign and people are parking there, we'll paint the curb if there's no parking. We work with the police department and the fire department to determine the accessibility for vehicles, pedestrian visibility, etc. So we look at a whole picture, not just, if somebody says, hey, we need the curb painted, we don't just go out and paint it, we have to look at the entire picture. But we did actually look at that street, and I do know from past experience that we did not put a crosswalk in at Safeway because of the liability of putting a crosswalk there, and it was not determined feasible at that time to put one there, but that doesn't mean that we can't look at it again and look at the overall picture, which we will be doing.
You say Safeway, though, where are you talking about?
I'm talking the road that goes between McDonald's and Carl Jr.'s straight back, and there's actually a handicap ramp back there with a gated area, and that area right there, it wasn't a safe crossing as deemed necessary at that time, but that doesn't mean that we can't look at it again, and we will be looking at it again.
We come out the back gate, that ramp.
I know exactly where you're talking about.
Okay, so it's a city sidewalk, the city put in the ramp, it's a city street, but you don't think that it would...
I didn't say that, I'm saying it was evaluated in the past,
okay,
and that doesn't mean it can't, that's correct, but we need to reevaluate it, absolutely.
That is where everybody crosses.
Yes.
It's right there.
Yep. Yeah.
I appreciate you talking.
Yeah, no problem. And my office is 2 doors down. If you guys ever want to come in, I have an open door policy. Unless I'm working on a grant dollar to get money for the city, you guys can come into my office anytime you want. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Mrs. Coleman, I think you have a...
I don't live in the city, but I come down to visit my sister here. It's off my house. You get a street sweeper in, sweeps on the McDonald's side.
Yes, sir.
You cannot sweep clean next to the apartments
So,
because nobody moves their car.
that's correct. Thank you for noticing that.
Ability, in the future to put signs up
Yes, sir.
on the pole saying street sweepers are going to be here certain hours, street must be clear.
Yeah, so we actually put signs up before we sweep all the streets. You probably see them around the city. We don't put them on a pole because of the expense. We actually put them on like a sandwich board. We put them the day prior, and we put them out ahead of time. We say, street sweeping on this thing, please move your vehicles. So they do not, and so it would be really nice if you see somebody who owns that vehicle to say, could you please move your vehicle so we
I'm
can
one of
sweep
the
it?
people that park there, and I
Yeah.
didn't realize that you swept the streets.
Yeah, we sweep them in the
See signs and
spring.
everything. I don't drive every day. so-
Yeah, so in the spring, and we just completed it last month, and in November is usually when we start again. So kind of keep an eye out for that.
We're meeting though, and then when it
Yes,
happens,
sir.
then we can put the news.
That'd be great. Yep.
Talk about it.
And we actually put it on our website when we're going to be sweeping streets.
We usually
You're welcome.
get a notification from Lori's office about the street sweeping. I remember getting that this last year. And
Thank you.
Again, nobody knew.
Help me out. Help me out.
I noticed when I got
Yeah.
that, I moved my car. I was probably going to. We will try to
All right.
work
Okay,
with you
thank you,
more now.
Mrs. Coleman.
You're welcome.
Have a
You're
check
welcome.
through.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions?
I'll save my questions for Public Works, but it's going to be in some of those topics.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Torch lights and potholes.
A what?
Torch lights and potholes.
Yes, torch down.
I thought you said lights.
No, torch down.
Torch down.
No, torch down, yeah. That would be a good question to ask what a torch light is.
Torch down?
Torch down.
Torch down, those are the stop bars within
What are they
town.
called? Lights.
No, torch down. Those are
They
the
were,
TV
well,
things.
someone mentioned lights.
See, I never heard half of it.
Yeah.
That's when you go to a luau.
Maybe you're thinking of tiki torches.
Yeah.
I can envision what the gentleman was saying, I got it.
Yeah,
but-
so I will share that the city administrator, Peter Boyce, is looking for additional dollars for us to finish some of the mandatory maintenance here to try to get the street sweeping in, and so I think we have a game plan, but as of right now, it's all on hold. So,
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Coleman.
you're welcome.
Public safety.
We met on Monday, July 16th. The fire committee discussion and recommendation, fireworks committee met, which is Public Works, with our fire chief, and we talked about updating our fireworks code, which we will be discussing tonight in a workshop. The structural training fire in the city of Woodland is limited to CCFR. I'm not sure what that is. Chief Jackson said this training is cost savings for the owner of the structure and recommended the city should place restrictions on training to the CCFR only, which would prevent owners from shopping around with other agencies for services. So if you have a business and you need some training, get a hold of our fire department. They'd be willing to help you do that. Chief Kelly provided an update on the police department, and we should be getting the department's pickup back at the end of the month. Written policy procedure for special events, specifically block parties. Committee discussion and recommended fire and police develop a policy for applicants where they would be informed of concerns prior to submitting the completed application. And Chief Kelly received an email from Sheriff Nelson regarding county commissioners' consideration of allowing wheeled ATVs in certain limited areas of Cowlitz County. Nelson said the idea is being pushed by a citizens group, and there's a lot that supports this. There wasn't any old business discussed, and our next meeting is August 20th?
20,
Yeah, August 20th at 4:30.
4:30 or
4:30.
4:30, okay. Are there any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Human Resources.
We met on Monday, July 16th. Not a lot of detail here, but we talked about ongoing and potential bargaining agreements, labor negotiations, and that there is some progress being made on police officer recruitment, but I'm not sure exactly what the status of that is. And our next meeting will be Monday, August 20th also.
Are there any questions?
Council members, make sure you're close to your mics.
That better?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. I'm loud anyway, so, okay. All right. Thank you. Finance Committee.
It's just a note there.
We just, yeah. Report on the 20th. We'll report at the August 20th meeting.
People always want to
Okay.
know why the finance committee's not on there, so we put a placeholder on that said they reported the second meeting.
Okay. Thank
We'll
you.
report at the second meeting.
Okay, thank you. Reports of city officers. The Chamber of Commerce report. We had Chamber had a golf tournament last Thursday out at Lewis River Golf Course. I think everybody had a really good time that was out there. I haven't heard how well they did yet, but I know everyone had a good time. And there's a liquor license renewal for Safeway, Casa, and Casa Tapatia. Upcoming events is Open Up in downtown. It's on the 10th. I believe that's at 5:30 or 5 o'clock? 5 o'clock, okay. Movies in the Park started, I don't remember what date it actually started. Was it July 19th? Okay. Started out with about 50 people going to the park, wound up with 250 people down in the park. So I think it really was a success, and they definitely plan on doing that again next year, I think. So Friday nights in July and August is Hot Summer Nights. They did extend that one more to come into this Friday night, I think, and then to coincide with the Open Up downtown event. So that's about all I have. Janice, do you
Well,
have?
just to add to it, the music this Friday night is a tribute to Neil Diamond and Roy Orbison. So it should be a great show to end the summer nights on.
And that's free, too, to anyone
It's
that goes
free,
down there.
yes.
So, and it's been an enjoyable time. We do have the VFW is having a brunch Saturday, August 11th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. They'll have biscuits and gravy, scrambled eggs, fruit, hash brown and sausage, orange juice and coffee. Adults, $8. Kids under 12 is $5. I've been to that before, and it's very good, so.
What is the Open Up event?
It's all of Main Street. I think they're closing off Main Street, and so it's to go down there and walk around, look at the buildings, and I don't
You
know.
can see what's the buildings that we don't see that are closed. They're going to open those up, so you can kind of see what's going on there. If there's somebody that would be interested in renting one, there's going to be some art in some of them. So some people that do art things are going to hang their art in some of those. The buildings that are open, the stores, you can walk through and see what they have, ask questions. The side streets are also going to be open. So it just gives you an opportunity to go down and see what's downtown. The last time we did this, we had people that said, oh my goodness, I didn't even know we had some of these stores in town. So there'll be treats at some of the stores, and like I said, there's some art things, pieces that people are going to be hanging. There's music. There's a couple of different buildings that are going to have singing. So just a really nice evening, and it's a lot of fun, and just kind of stroll down the street, and there's no cars, so it's good stuff.
Thank you.
Yes. Do we want to mention we have two businesses that will be having grand openings
that evening?
Well, there is one,
Yes,
there
we
is
do.
two. There is where the old Premium Meats used to be over here on Gorg Street is now Daddy D's, I believe, which is a barbecue restaurant, and I've heard it's
Amazing.
very good.
Yes, it is.
And their grand opening is this coming Friday, the 10th, at 11 o'clock, I believe. And then the following Thursday, on August the 16th, is the grand opening for the new grocery outlet, and that is at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Friend. We're going to go back to reports of city council. Mr. Fredericks has something he wants to add.
Well, I just wanted to mention, it was former Mayor Chuck Blum's 80th birthday party, and appreciate I know Mrs. Ripp was there, Ms. Rounds and her husband were there. It was a great time. A lot of folks showed up to wish former Mayor Blum a happy birthday, so it was a very cool event. So I just wanted to share that.
Any questions? It was a nice event, so, okay. We'll go back to city attorney.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Clerk treasurer.
Yes. I put before you just a more detailed list. I won't go over everything, but I'll hit some of the highlights in our department. We processed a number of ordinances and resolutions. The kind of the two main ones that I wanted to mention were we amended Chapter 13 of the Woodland Municipal Code to talk about non-use of utilities. This will allow people that are going away for vacations or a certain amount of time, such as the snowbirds, to put a stop on their utilities, not get charged that base amount. So if you're interested in that, we do have that form available on our website, or you can contact our office and we can get you hooked up with that as well. There are some few rules that go along with that, so those would be important to know. We've also updated our fees and charges, and we have that being routed around just for final review to make sure that we don't have any changes when we did the draft into the final document. The fireworks survey was put out on our website, and we received some comments on those. So if you are wanting to comment on future things, please check our website and also our Facebook page and look for those surveys so you can put in your comments as a citizen. We currently also have a We Want a Dock survey that's, I think, still live on there, and then we're taking those survey results and forwarding them to the committees and to the council. Tracy had mentioned that we are taking in bids for the water treatment plant, electrical, HVAC, and we got that notice all posted out. We're working on a meeting decision tracker that the mayor is wanting staff to put together so the council will be informed about what is going on in the city and the departments. We are using our Civic Web tracker software, which we also use for our council meeting agendas and packets, so those will be tied together. And we're training some of the staff members to use that software. We send out the employee and volunteer recognition, save the date announcements for the two events. One, the employee one will be September 12th, and then the volunteer one will be in the evening before the council meeting on October 1st, so mark your calendars for those. We are currently working on getting an advertisement out for a vacancy on the Civil Service Commission. We advertised for our new janitor position versus the contract we had before, and we did 4 interviews, and the mayor has approved a candidate. They will be starting work on August 13th. On tonight's agenda, we have an amendment requesting some additional funds for some of the adjustments to the salary and the supplies and equipment. We've processed a number of documents for return to work for some employees that have been hurt off the job, but we're trying to work with them to get them back to work, some with some restrictions, but nonetheless, we want them to return to work if possible, if the doctor says it's okay and the city has work for them to do. We prepared the total cost of compensation reports, and the payroll clerk has completed those, and distributions were made to those. We'll be reporting to the HR committee probably at the next meeting as well. For risk management, we received the renewal documents for our upcoming city's insurance, and that will be coming forward to committee and council for action. We have assisted code enforcement action at the CC Street property, and a number of the departments are working on that, and we're trying to get that resolved on what to do. For our computer and IT, we have got our new City Hall server in place. That is complete, but we're still working on the Office 365 migration. We're also working on getting our list finalized for the surplus sale and hope to have that date and timeline to the council very soon. The Chamber, I've been attending the Ambassador Committee meetings with them. Janice also serves on that. And we're planning on welcoming new business and ribbon-cutting events coming up. We assisted the mayor with his legislative tour on July 25th, and that went very well. And then probably our biggest thing we're working on right now is we have the state auditors in for last week and this week, and we had our entrance on August 2nd. Councilmember Humbert was able to attend that. And then, as I had mentioned before, at a previous meeting, we'll be setting the exit as soon as they give us a date. We'll be sending that invitation to all the council. And we've also began our 2019 budget. We've sent out the call to budget and are underway for the preparation of that. We processed a number of special events. The park is pretty much booked for the month of August on the weekends. And so that's, I guess, good news. And training, we have some of the employees registered for some bars training, and Gina Anderson and myself, the deputy clerk treasurer, and myself will be attending the WFOA conference, which is going to be held down in Vancouver this year in September. Like I said, a more detailed report is available here, but I want to just hit some of the highlights. Are there any questions in this room?
Please.
For community service, we were able to participate. We had the honor of participating in our Public Safety Day, the grand opening of the new firehouse. So the chief appointed the intern, firefighter Wilson, who did an outstanding job coordinating with all the first responder partners in Cowlitz County and some in Clark County to participate in this. So we had the honor of having our little booth there, and we did quite a few car seat checks, handed out a bunch of child ID packets, fingerprinted a bunch of little ones, and helped the folks from Peace Health fit bicycle helmets on some of the kids. And I wore my bicycle helmet too, so it was a great event. The fire department did a great job. Lots of good feedback from the citizens who attended. And on a professional note, that was about the only thing we did community involvement-wise. But at this point in the year, the department is doing an outstanding job protecting the people of the city of Woodland with a total of 63 felony arrests to date this year, total of 102 felony charges. We had 166 misdemeanor arrests, a total of 267 charges. We wrote 96 criminal citations with 123 violations, 87 traffic citations, a total of 112 violations, 222 traffic infractions for a total of 267 violations. The officers issued 479 verbal warnings. They wrote 30 parking tickets, arrested people on felony warrants number 35 and misdemeanor warrants number 25. So they are doing their best to provide the service that the citizens of Woodland expect. And we will keep doing that until otherwise.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions?
Just one.
Yes, sir.
Have we put our speed trailer out on Woodside at all?
Not lately. Right now, we're working on Scott.
Is it possible to add Woodside to your list?
Yes, absolutely.
That's all I have.
Okay. Yes.
Plaza has a question.
If I might ask, were you talking about our issue, the speed, or?
Just to,
Columbia, Woodside is another.
I wondered if Woodside is where, I heard that there was, from what I heard tonight, I heard that there was issues with speeding on Woodside. Is that not the case?
No, Woodside is very.
Or is it Columbia?
It's only one block.
Yeah, I looked at it and I thought, really?
No, it's
Yeah.
Columbia.
Columbia.
On the same
Columbia.
Yeah.
We all live on Woodside.
Got it.
And it's our understanding that most of that street, Hoswap is responsible for it.
Of Woodside.
Of Woodside Street. I mean, the city's only responsible for a short length of it for some reason. I mean, like when it comes to
Private property.
paving and things like that.
Okay.
What used to be LHA, now it's Hoswap, they have to pave it. So I think that makes a difference on that street.
Mr. Plaza, you
Thank
have a
you.
question?
Yeah, it's not really a question, more of a clarification for myself. So, Chief, when you mentioned that the outreach thing that you did with the fire department with the kids and all that good kind of stuff, kind of
Yes.
made this pop into my mind, so bear with me. The police department in general does a lot of community outreach type stuff, like Toys for Tots and the DUI thing with the school, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I was just reporting for what we did last month.
Yeah, no, I know, this is, that just is what kind of sparked my brain down here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when you guys have community outreach and you do those type of public type stuff, are the officers that attend those, are they normally on duty or off duty?
Yes.
Both. Okay, let's use Toys for Tots for an example, just so that we're not,
for the
yeah, let's just use
Shop
that
thing?
as a community outreach thing. Are the officers there normally off duty or on duty?
Most officers are off duty.
Okay. But they go, because they're representing the department, they go there in uniform and use their patrol cars to get there and whatnot?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
With your permission, I'm assuming?
Right, and they're also, most of them also bring their spouses.
Right, okay.
And not just Woodland officers, but officers
Everybody,
from other agencies.
right.
Yes.
But our department specifically, they have your permission to go there in uniform and use their patrol vehicle during off time because it's a community outreach thing
Yes,
that will
sir.
make, the department look good in the eyes of the community?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, for Toys for Tots or any other kind of community outreach thing, has an officer ever been disciplined for attending one of those things while off duty in uniform?
Never.
Perfect.
Not on my watch.
Great. And has the city council ever suggested an officer be punished for using their patrol vehicle or being in uniform for an off-duty community outreach function?
Not
That you know of?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Okay, and how about the city, anybody in the city in general? Has anybody ever contacted you saying that an officer needs to be punished for using their patrol vehicle or being in uniform for a community outreach function?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
It's a point of order. I think we're getting off what we're
No, I'm
trying to
done.
talk
That's
about
all I
here.
wanted to know. So, perfect, thanks.
Thank you. All right. Fire.
Yeah, it's been a busy summer for us. With wildland response, we've had typically between 8 and 9 folks through WSP and Department of Forestry or Department of Natural Resources responses around the 2 states. For us, the benefit is it is reimbursed by the state, including their backfill coverage, so it hasn't left us with a lesser of a response in the district at any point, but certainly help keep folks busy. As the chief pointed out, we had the open house. It was attended by, hard to get real solid numbers, but with the food and stuff, we had counts. We had a few hundred community members there, so it was well attended, well received. We had the police department, Peace Health, Life Flight, the county sheriff's office, the emergency management, and a number of other folks that were there helping out and providing information for the public, so that was very well received. Responses have continued to go up, although this year our response times are down slightly, whereas at the beginning of the year we put an additional company in service in the district, and that helped our response times overall across the district improve there. So, beyond that, I personally have been engaged with our fire marshal services. We've fully engaged for new construction and new development, doing engineering plans review and inspections for all new construction and new occupancies, and that's been beneficial to help keep us up to speed on what's going on and provide input, trying to make sure that all those folks get off on the right foot from the get-go. So it's been a huge change, and it's been beneficial across the board. And that is all I have to report, unless there's any questions.
Could you speak to the structural training that I tried to speak to and didn't make any sense at all?
No, we were talking about when folks have acquired structures or structures that they're looking to demolish and they reach out to us for training. There's been some communication where a couple of neighboring districts had thought about doing it in the city. From just a managing risk and liability standpoint, we coordinated where we will coordinate all of those within the city limits, but continue to reach out to our partners so that we can train with them and to have some cooperative efforts there, give them some of the training experience. But as far as managing the actual live fire training in those acquired structures, that we'll keep that to the fire district as the city's provider. Probably the main driver there is just insurance, both from the city and the fire district standpoint as far as managing that risk. But the few that we've had have gone great, and we've worked real closely with Cowlitz Fire District 1, but usually have some participation from Cowlitz 5 as well. And it's been beneficial across the board. And we don't have a lot of those opportunities, but try to take advantage when we can. This year there was a few that wanted to engage those right as we were coming into the burn ban time, which we fall under the same rules as everyone else there. So there won't be any of those until the fall when the burn restrictions are lifted, but there's a couple on the lineup that we might be looking at that time.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Community development.
Sure. So, actually, having Chief Jackson go right before me is really convenient because the first thing on my list is with all the applications that are coming through the office, and I normally have to sit through the embarrassment of people saying things are going really well with my department, I need to make sure to point out that everything that I do has to go through the fire chief and the public works department, Rob Vanderzanden, who is the city engineer, and some of the external agencies that we use. I wouldn't be able to get my work done if they weren't doing theirs in a timely manner, and their attention to detail has been great. I throw a ton of information at them all the time and random emails out of the blue. They do a good job making sure that they get back to me in a timely manner. So along those lines, I wanted to point out that since the last time I talked to you, we've had 3 pre-application conferences, and so those are future projects that'll be coming down the pipe. And we have another one actually scheduled for this Thursday, so we had so many of them we had to reschedule. And so that one is one of our 8 comprehensive plans. So if you're hearing conversations in the community about expanding the urban growth area, so we now look like we have about 8 different projects that want to have conversations about changing either their comprehensive plan and their zoning or expansions into properties that are out in the county. So that acreage count of people who are interested in urban growth area expansion is now up to 724 acres, which is huge. So it's almost the majority of the property between the railroad and the Lewis River south of town. So probably about 65% of that area have now come to talk to me about inclusion in the urban growth area. So that's huge. There's a piece of property across from the high school and a couple in town that want to talk about changes for some mixed-use residential, commercial. And so there are a lot of those going on, and it's going to be a major topic coming up in the fall and winter and probably into the spring. So that meeting this Thursday is going to be kind of the first of those big discussions. So you'll be hearing more about that. We had a planning commission scheduled for the end late July, and we ended up with 2 of the 5 planning commission members out of town, and so we ended up canceling that. And the August meeting is going to be the same, so I think we're going to try and push it back into late August. So we've managed to issue the ARCO AM/PM with the car wash up across from the Taco Bell. We're also dealing with, we should have the Columbia River Carbonates plant. That building permit should be issued this week, so they should start on their pelletizing plant portion of their expansion. We have 3 port projects in work, their admin building and then their Phase 1 Guild Road and Phase 2 Guild Road, so they're both industrial parks. We also have received an application for a storage development inside of almost the majority of the empty land within Belmont Loop. So we should be getting the review for that done within the next couple of weeks. Most of you have seen the work going next to the O'Reillys up at Sherman and Dyke Access Road. That's the trailer depot. They'll be relocating up there on Dyke Access Road, hopefully in a couple of months once their construction is done. And B. Young RV are making a ton of progress. They should be starting construction. I believe they want to start construction in their building in September. And there was a great article in the Longview paper just a couple of days ago. So if you haven't seen that yet, you can call that up and search for Woodland and it'll come right up. Some great comments about what's going on with the city of Woodland, so I'm really happy. It looks like we're coming off as very interested in development and helping people get stuff done. Larry Schlecht, who's the contractor on that, had some good things to say about making progress and things are going really good and he's really happy. So that sounds really good. That's the exact kind of image that we want the city to have for everyone outside of the city. So very happy about that. I also wanted to point out that Janice, the permit technician, has been out for the last couple of weeks. She had a small surgery, and so I have to thank and make sure that you all know that I'm recognizing Mary Parsons, who's the code enforcement officer. She stepped up and worked full-time for the last 2.5 weeks, and she picked up the building side of the house and did 90% of the building work, and I picked up a little bit of it, but she was awesome. And so I really want to give her appreciation and let you know that she did a really good job, and we're both happy to have Janice back because the amount of work that all of the detail and getting that building permits and getting the inspections scheduled and actually getting the inspector to show up at the right time on the right day, it's actually a lot of work. And so Mary and Janice both, if you see them, tell them thank you because they've do a ton of work to get the building side of the house going. So that's pretty much it for the community development. Are there any questions? Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the tour? Apparently, I wasn't able to attend it, but there was a tour that was done. If you could talk a little bit about that, that would be most excellent. I wasn't able to attend.
Sure. So the mayor had a legislative tour, I am assuming the one that you're talking about. And so there were several groups. The city administrator, Pete Boyce, and I were stationed at the downtown location across Kitty Corner to City Hall. And as the groups came by, we talked to them about the downtown revitalization and items and new development that was going on downtown. They also had stops at the Holland America Bulb Farm and the high school, and I'm sorry, there's too many of them for me to list, but several of them all over town. So as the drivers, actually Mike might be able to give us a little more of the various stops. So, because he was one of the drivers, but they basically came around, we answered their questions, we talked to them about permitting difficulties and direction of development and what kind of growth pressures that we're dealing with. So it was a wide variety of elected officials, appointed officials, and agency contacts. So we had several people from the Department of Transportation listening to our concerns and what was going on. So it was a great opportunity for the city to explain what was going on and what we're facing and how they can help us.
Can I just add to that? I attended the COG meeting. I wasn't able to attend that either, but I attended the COG meeting the following Thursday. And 2 of our county commissioners were there and a couple of other people who attended, Bill Fashing, and they were just aglow with nothing but wonderful things to say about what they learned about Woodland, and they knew that Woodland was growing but didn't have any idea what was going on and all of the things that we've done. So Thank you, everybody that had anything to do with that. We made a splash. It's good stuff.
I heard it was very well received, and something that I don't believe has been done to that level since I've been here. So kudos to the mayor and his group for and all you folks that really came together on that. And I know this summer is extremely busy for all staff, that you're doing your best with, in some cases, limited resources to do the best that you can to serve our citizens. And so I appreciate everything that you're doing, because I know you're doing a tremendous amount of work out there.
Anything else? Okay. Public Works?
Oh, I have lots more.
We knew you did.
I won't take very long though, because it's getting late and people are getting hungry. I know. Anyway, so I just wanted to say thank you to Mary's group. Anytime I need something for a grant that I apply for, I'll go to Mary's group and say, hey, can you put this on the website for me? I need feedback from the community, or we'll put stuff out on our, I don't know if you guys have been to Horseshoe Lake, but we put some reader boards out there, we put some signs out there, say give us feedback for a splash park, for a splash pad, for a dock, for whatever. And so she's able to get that up and going. I get the feedback I need to be able to put it in the grant applications to give us higher points, because you need community feedback for these points in these applications. So thank you very much to Mary's group for doing that for us. Also on that legislative tour, I just want to say I had the best stop ever. I was at the wastewater treatment plant in a dirt patch, but the guys took care of me. They brought me bottles of water and made sure I had cover, and it was a great opportunity for us to be able to beg and borrow money from the state with matching funds. So it was nice to have that tour, and I think the mayor did a wonderful job putting it together. And as you said, we are very limited with our staff resources, and we had to put something together very quickly, but I think it was a huge benefit to the city, and to be able to do that and share with the state what's going on. You know, tell WashDOT when I'm applying for their grants, hey, this is why I'm applying for a grant. We have a problem here in the city that we need to solve. We don't have the funds to do it all. We can help, but we need money from the state as well. So that was wonderful that the mayor put that together. We are beating the war of graffiti in the city, I think, and I hesitate to say that, and hope that I won't go out there tomorrow morning and have to send all crew out. But we continue to work on the graffiti within the city. If you see anybody who is graffitiing, take a picture, come to my office, send it to me, and have the police write on it for me. So we've been able to work with the police department, and they've been able to grab a couple of the graffiti vandals in our town. So
I would just like to comment on what you just said. I am a member of the Calvary Chapel. They got
yes, ma'am. Yep.
We were amazed at how fast that
Yeah.
got painted and everything. So
Yeah, so
I don't know who
we have a
is
volunteer in the
responsible.
city.
Thank you.
Yeah, a volunteer in the city that does a lot of the painting in the city for us, and she does an outstanding job. So I'll make sure and pass that on to her.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then also we had we have water reports that we put out every year. And so this is a sample of our water report that we had out in the past 5 years. Pretty basic 2-page. And we have revitalized our water report. Now we have a wonderful 4-page water report that we had received kudos from the Department of Health and from our citizens. So we have a beautiful 4-page report. It's be able to found online, so you can look at anything and everything you want to know about our water system here in Woodland. So take a look at that if you haven't looked at that. And then also, Travis mentioned the comp plan, and with that comp plan, I had a meeting with WashDOT where we were talking about exit 21 and exit 22, the on and off ramps and the congestion that's there. And so one of the items that they need from us is that comp plan that shows the additional developments that are going on outside of Woodland that are impacting our exits. So they've asked for that information to come so they can continue studying and see the additional impact from the growth that's going on outside of Woodland that's affecting Woodland itself. So that's nice that they're asking for that plan to see the additional traffic flow for that. So that I was really excited to hear about that. And then we have a worker that is off duty right now who had an injury that happened off duty, off site, which is wonderful. So we don't have any workers' comp or anything, but unfortunately he is injured, so we're short a guy for the next couple weeks. And then as you all know, we're losing one of our park workers. We had a temporary worker come on board due to limited funding, and so we'll be losing one of our park workers this month. So we'll be short on staff for the park work as well. So if you see people at the park not picking up after themselves, hit them with your cane and tell them to pick it up. So anyway, that's all I have.
Are there any questions, Ms. Coleman? That's Mr. Frederick.
Any chance we could get an extra library wastebasket in the library? In the, not the library,
In
the
the community
Commons
center?
Community Center?
I will have to look at my budget, but I believe it could be obtained.
Okay.
Because
Let me
I'm
know.
not going to go over budget.
2.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. You had mentioned earlier that Mr. Boyce was going to be forthcoming with some funding dollars, possibly, for torch,
Down.
those,
Yes, sir.
and pothole repair. Is that going to be forthcoming to who? The Finance Committee?
Forthcoming to the process and procedures that we need to follow. I went to his office telling him that I need funds, and he's going to take it from there.
Okay.
We have met, Mr. Boyce and myself, we have update Tracy, but we are looking at the budget and then planning and reporting to the Finance Committee.
Okay.
That was my initial request of what I needed because I cannot maintain what we have in the city right now. So one of the things I said, we need to get additional funds, and he's taking it from there.
So I guess my next question is this is a possible delay with weather? I mean, are we going to be in a situation where the Finance Committee needs to meet and the council needs to make a budget amendment decision?
And then we don't get it done
And then you
due to
can't get
weather?
it done because it's weather?
That could be 100% correct, yes.
Okay. How can we help? I'm interested to hear.
So I think what needs to happen is when Mr. Boyce returns, that, and we have presented and followed our process that presented to the Finance Committee. If it goes, when's the next Finance Committee? August 20th. So, and our next council meeting is? September 4th. September 4th, so we're looking at September.
August 20th.
20th.
But if we meet that night, we won't have the agenda, well, I mean, we have to have the agenda in the packet prior to that unless they wanted to bypass
We have a procedure that we need to follow, so to answer your question, that it may be delayed and not be able to put out to bid or the bids received due to a timing restraint of weather. That is correct. I need to answer your
So
question.
that, in my mind, would be an emergency request due to weather and could possibly bypass the rules. I don't have...
If we have the funds, that's correct.
Right.
Yes.
So I don't have an objection, and I don't know if the members of the Finance Committee do, but feel free to speak up now. But I have no objection if that comes directly to the council for consideration and bypass that committee. Just so
I have
it...
no problem with that either.
I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah.
Mrs. Humbert, you okay? Okay.
So we can bypass the project, that process in what I would call, in this case, an emergency due to weather.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, reports of advisory committees. Mrs. Humbert.
I attended the Calais-Waukegan Council of Government meeting on Thursday, July 26th. We approved the resolution for Fire District 1 to become a member of the COG, so we were happy to have them on board. The Three Rivers Regional Wastewater Authority also put in an application to become a member, so we'll be voting on that. The Census Project, we sent a letter to approve and to support the Census Project. We also had a gentleman from Washington State Department of Natural Resources that spoke about landslide hazards and the LIDAR program, and LIDAR stands for Light Detection and Ranging. Light Detection and Ranging, and describes a technique using a laser beam to measure the distance from a source to an object. So they're finding places where there could be landslides that are deeper than what they've ever been able to look at before. And it was amazing, interesting, and I have some homeowners guides that they handed out if you're interested in reading a little more about them and the things that they're discovering. So it was a really good meeting. And our next meeting is August 23rd at noon at the Cowlitz County GMR.
Any questions, Ms. Humbert? Okay. Looks like AWC legislative? Is that?
The mayor asked me to report that he's just encouraging people to take advantage of the AWC webinars and the MRSC site for training opportunity.
Good stuff. Thank you. Downtown revitalization. Ms. Humbert.
The minutes were approved, the treasurer's report was approved, can't talk tonight. The budget required a correction of $79 from additional donations for Hot Summer Nights, so that was good stuff. We need to develop an annual budget, which we'll be working on at our next meeting. We'll be requesting funds for advertising for Hot Summer Nights and the flower baskets from the city in 2019. Our annual meeting has been moved to November. There was a discussion regarding the downtown woodland revitalization and the role of the woodland of our future group regarding the similar functions and purpose of DWR creating potential confusion to the businesses. So how are we going to make that work? And we didn't really come to a conclusion, but we will continue the discussion because they're both good groups. Discussion regarding the maintenance and upkeep of the mascot. Flags were purchased and JJ's been putting them out, but we need to set up a schedule so that they're always out on the street on particular days. Hot Summer Nights first concert with Elvis, there was approximately 150 to 200 people, and this coming Friday will, as Jen said, will be our last one, and I think it's going to be really exciting, a really good one, so please come down. That's it.
Any questions of Mrs. Humbert? Okay. We'll move on to consent items.
Yeah, but I'd like to pull C.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve consent items A and B.
Okay, it's been first and second to approve items A and B on the consent. Mrs. Ripp, would you take that?
Councilmember Benjamin?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Okay. So we move to item number C. Authorize mayor to sign an agreement with Express Employment for temporary employment agency services.
Just need to.
Move to approve?
Second it.
It's been first and second to approve item number C. Clerk Treasurer, will you take the...
Discussion.
Oh, discussion, excuse me. Thank you.
Councilmember
Humbert.
I have no issues with this, so.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay, all right. So Clerk Treasurer.
I don't necessarily either, but I have a
Question?
I don't remember sending this to this committee with a due pass recommendation, but that's neither here nor there. Maybe I wasn't there at that meeting. What other employment agencies do we do business with currently that are on the books? None.
We got bids from two other ones.
Two other ones. And this one just happens to be local, is that correct?
Correct. And they were actually, their fees were lower than
Okay.
the other ones we looked at.
And this was paused out of committee and it went to the city attorney for legal review.
I believe it did.
And then on to the insurance company, and they both, I think Nicole looked at that one.
Yes.
Yes.
So you have no...
His associate.
You're good?
Thumbs up.
Okay. Then I'm good.
So, no other discussion. Ms. Ripp, would you take the roll?
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Benjamin?
Aye.
We'll move on to action items. Okay, action item D, ordinance, city administrator ordinance number 1409, amending WMC 8.08.120, city action upon accumulation of garbage, final reading.
Move to approve?
Second.
Okay, it's been first and second. Ms. Ripp, would you take the roll?
Any discussion?
Oh, yes, excuse me, any discussion?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
We gotta stop for a second.
This, if I'm not mistaken, all this does is changes one word. It takes the council out of what I believe is more of an executive branch role. And that's all we're doing is changing that one word, which puts it back on
Correct.
the executive branch. Makes sense to me. Me.
Do you have any other? Okay. Do you have any other discussion? Okay, all right. Ms. Ripp, now you can take the roll.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Hubbard.
Aye.
Councilmember Benjamin.
Aye.
Okay, clerk treasurer, authorize, this is number E, authorize clerk treasurer to prepare budget amendment for janitorial services employment.
Move to approve?
Second it.
Okay, it's been first and second to approve action item number E, discussion.
I believe this is what Mary's referred to earlier, and sounds like a good thing. Needs to happen.
Any other discussion?
I concur.
Okay. Ms. Ripp, would you take the roll?
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Benjamin.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Hubbard.
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye. Without objection, can we take a 10-minute recess
Yes.
before we move into the workshop?
Okay. No objection? Okay, we'll take a 10-minute recess. It is 8:15. I will be back at 8:25.
10 minutes to get
You see what he did?
Oh.
Did you read that?
Show him the note?
Yes.
Because it's true. I tried to do it.
I wrote a note to Tracy, I wrote a note to the mayor and basically said, I do hereby affirm that
Excuse me.
Tracy said she wanted to follow the process to get funds for work. Yes. Yes, that's right.
I'm going to get that in the minutes. That it was suggested and heard.
Yes. Which I think is a fitting reward for the one time that Tracy actually followed the process, and they're rewarding her with prioritization. We'll have to point that out to her.
Okay, thank you for making that. It was like after I spitted that, I went, oh, I know what he's talking about. I remember now. Yeah, but that was, thank you for doing that. How are you?
So that was pretty good. Boy, did you expect to get answers that quick when you came tonight?
No, it's really good.
Yep.
As we all happy, so that's
Nice poem, by the way.
You just have to, I'm sorry, this is not, and they have their opportunity at the beginning of the meeting. And I do feel like we just needed to move on. I mean, I don't care about any questions. I care about the next. I this morning, I asked you to.
Whatever the rule of practice is, doesn't have any of the good stuff in it.
I was thinking mess all coffee.
No, that's actually not the Asian. No, that's actually mild compared to.
Yeah, I get mess all coffee.
Yeah, it was good.
They do create some kind of good stuff. There's one
This is scary, but I think it's everything is here.
Hopefully, I'll frame it in front of that.
Is that kind of how it goes?
Yeah.
Because all the reviews are pushed back later.
Can't talk about it.
Yeah, no, exactly
Can't talk about
right.
it.
Exactly right.
Ask about the Mariners. You don't
Yeah. Oops, excuse me. So I saw a black Lincoln out there with a retired Navy on it.
Oh, you know,
Someone
I
on
don't know.
council?
Not that I know of. Not sure who that would be. Do you know who has the retired Navy sticker out there? What's that? I don't know. Retired Navy sticker on their car? Not sure who's that
I saw
was.
there was a black Lincoln out there with retired Navy. Just was wondering.
Maybe somebody was out there.
You had a veteran out there, yeah. A veteran's hat.
Oh, yes, probably Jerry's.
Jerry, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
Mr. Silvers that was here.
Oh.
Veteran, he had a veteran.
Yeah, that's who's it is.
Cap on him. That's right.
That's Newfoundland glitter.
Just the company was here. Yeah, it was Jerry's.
You know, I have not even had a chance to stop and think about it. It's just
Running so hard.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy.
But you're saying, but they're having requests to change the comp plan.
Yes. So there's 3 internal and 5 external that want to talk about expansion of the growth area. So there's, so it's going to be extremely interesting.
Yeah, really, it does. I think we discussed this quite a bit.
Average density in the low density, so you probably expect, 3 units per acre. And 250 units. That would add, potentially 3,500 more units. And so it's going to be interesting because, typically with growth management, you figure out, okay, what's my growth going to be? And then you figure out, okay, is there enough water and sewer? But we really don't know how much water and sewer capacity we have. And so it's going to be interesting to see whether we're going to expand the urban growth area and then update our water and sewer plans accordingly, or whether they're going to say no, because, the county council will say no until they want to say I'm used to undergrowth management. It's a lot simpler process. So, okay, you're going to go by 1,000 people.
Okay, it's 8:25, and so we're back in session. Do I need to, or we're just going to move right into workshop? Is that what we do? Okay. We're going to talk about fireworks, WMC 14.28, and Mr. Jackson is going to kind of give us an overview, and then we will discuss it. So,
we typically do most years, but we did receive a number of concerns. I would say over the last few years, concerns from citizens have been growing a little bit, although you can see the written concerns presented were the 6 that you received tonight, and the mayor had one prior email from another citizen that was not included on there that had a very short email requesting that fireworks be banned. So that gave us a total of 7 citizen comments, one that said essentially leave them be, and others that said they would like to see the discharge times limited. With that, there's been a little bit of movement in the area. In Cowlitz, there hasn't been much legislative action. So to my knowledge, every municipality in Cowlitz County just holds to the state standards for sales and discharge times, which essentially starts on the 28th with both sales and discharge and goes through July 5th with both sales and discharge. On the Clark County side, there has been some movement there. There was initially some effort to try to have kind of a unified movement amongst the municipalities there, but it didn't really pan out that way. So Vancouver has an outright ban on fireworks, and the information was actually provided with the Ridgefield information that was there, and essentially unincorporated Clark County is limited to the 4th, Amboy is the 28th through the 4th, Battleground is the 3rd and the 4th, Camas is the 3rd and the 4th on discharge. The center just went to discharge on the 3rd and the 4th with sales June 28th through the 4th. Ridgefield just enacted sales limited to the 1st through the 4th of July with discharge on the 4th only. Washougal is the 4th of July only, and Camas is the 2nd through the 5th on sales, so it's kind of across the board there. When we talked about it in the Public Safety Committee, obviously we looked at our responses. The 4th of July typically does become a busy day for us, and we do get a number of responses, typically with some minor injuries and some property damage. That being said, this year was actually a bit of an anomaly. We only had 3 fireworks-related responses, which is less than we typically have. And there was no significant injuries or property damage with those responses that we had this year. Like I say, that's not really the normal year, but that is what we experienced this year. So we talked about it in the committee, and the proposal that was drafted did a couple of things. It took the city ordinance and essentially we removed duplicative language, so stuff that is already existing in the state law, we didn't duplicate it in the municipal code. And part of the concept of that is if the state law changes a little bit, you don't want to have laws that are in conflict with each other. So if it's already addressed in the state law, it doesn't necessarily have to be repeated in the municipal code because the state law applies. And with that, we took the recommended changes for discharge and sales, kind of simplified the way that it read with a chart that's in there. And from the initial committee recommendation, that had sales on June 28th through July 4th, essentially with times up till 11 p.m., except for on the 28th, it starts at noon. So it'd be noon to 11 p.m. on the 28th. And then starting June 29th through July 4th, sales would be 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. No sales on July 5th, which would be a change from our current standard. And then discharge was limited through the 28th through July 5th is what the committee recommended also. What we're hoping for this evening is some direction from council if there is a desire to change what's been proposed, and then we would bring that back for council consideration. Things that other places in the state have done, they've limited time of discharge, they've limited the types of discharge, so some places have gone with a safe and sane firework, which are essentially things that don't go further than 3 feet, travel across the ground or above the ground. There's places that have restricted the time of discharge or completely eliminated discharge, restricted the sales, so all those are essentially open options that the council could consider. Everything from an outright ban up to the state standards of June 28th through July 5th with sales and discharge. So with that, I'll leave it to you and be happy to answer any questions that I can help with.
Okay, Mr. Fred.
Just a quick question. Who enforces whether or not something is moving 3 feet or not?
Well, it comes, the first part is usually to enforce that with sales. So they are described, it does give clear descriptions that what fireworks those entail. Obviously, if you restrict the sales in the community, that doesn't stop folks from purchasing them elsewhere and bringing them in. But it usually does come with a penalty and a fine if folks are caught without it. So it's publicizing, getting that information out there, and then trying to enact some enforcement. Enforcement is a bit of a challenge. Here, it would be limited to the fire district and the police department, and obviously doing any significant enforcement specific to fireworks. We aren't particularly well-resourced to do that right now, and it hasn't been something that we've been real actively engaged in. Short of the sales times, we do go inspect fireworks stands and make sure that they're selling what's legal and those sorts of things.
So for 2018, how many tickets or citations have we issued for the existing Woodland Municipal Codes fireworks?
From the fire district, we did not engage enforcement outside of the fireworks stands.
Okay.
So we issued
So
no
0?
citations, and I have to turn to the chief.
I can't speak to that, but I can certainly find out.
I was just curious if it's.
I
It seems to me that it's a difficult thing to police. That it's.
I think.
Especially if you're saying, and I understand from the perspective of something moves 3 feet, you can limit that to be sold. That makes sense. But from an enforcement standpoint, about the only thing you can enforce is really a ban. And if they're doing it, then there's an infraction.
Essentially, the safe and sane, the ones that are limited to those 3 feet, it eliminates anything that flies through the air. So already bottle rockets and those things are not legal in the state, but this would further eliminate mortars or the packs, the cakes that go together and launch flying, flaming materials. That's 3 feet's the law, but that's really, in essence, what it does is it just eliminates things that fly through the air completely.
Mr. Plaza.
I totally forgot what I was going to say, so I'm sure it'll come to me later.
Okay. But if we limit that, it's still going to be I can't see putting something on the books that we're not going to enforce. You know,
It certainly can, it can help with liability to some degree, and it leaves the window there so if there are complaints, issues, or concerns, that it can be enforced. The folks that have gone with stricter limits, I think, have found it effective to invest a little bit on the enforcement in the first year or two, to have a strong presence and send a very clear message of what's tolerated and what isn't, and then that certainly helps curb it from the future, as well as public outreach and education so that folks have a clear picture of what they can or can't do.
That might be a question.
okay, Mr. Plaza.
Talking on the enforcement side of things for fireworks. Okay, let's say, just for sake of argument, we have a complete ban. No fireworks allowed whatsoever. And you guys get a call that somebody's shooting off fireworks. Police roll up, big crowd of people. How do you know who set it off?
Well, there's certainly, and I can let the chief speak from the police end. There are some challenges to that.
Yeah.
I will say I've been engaged with fireworks enforcement when I worked in the state of Oregon, where we did have some more restrictive bans, and we had some effect with that. There's certainly challenging times, but with questioning, talking to folks, witnesses, and those things, and typically there we would confiscate, and then depending on their level of cooperation, really dictated whether they received a citation in the form of a ticket with a bill.
Right. Okay, and just to clarify, I know I was at the meeting, but I'm not remembering right now. Previous years, the fireworks stands in Woodland, they were able to sell on the 5th as well, correct?
Correct. So but the committee recommendation with the revised municipal code as proposed would eliminate the sales on the 5th. And I don't know that many of our fireworks stands are doing sales on the 5th. I know from our concern was I think there's a little bit of a mindset that at the end of the sales, we can rush out and buy them and stock up, which then just exacerbates the problem of discharge beyond the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, however far that goes. So it's trying to be a little proactive on that with curtailing the sales ending on the 4th of July.
Well, I don't mind them selling in June, but I don't think we need to set off fireworks in June. I think it needs to at least be July 1.
Well, there you go.
And neither on July the 5th.
We can't.
Pardon?
We won't be doing it on July.
Okay.
The current proposal was no sales on the 5th, but discharge would be allowed on the 5th.
Discharge is.
Yeah, see, and I don't think we need to discharge on the 5th either.
So, and I think that's the kind of the biggest issue with the ordinance is identifying things. One, the sales period, and two, the discharge period. You might get 7 different answers up here of what folks think it should be based upon feedback that they've received. And so I think that's what we kind of need to narrow down as part of this workshop to identify where is we need to move either the sales period or the discharge period or both. Are we comfortable, is the council as a whole or at least 4 members comfortable with the sales period? Does that need to change?
I'm okay with the sales period myself.
Yeah, the only issue, I guess, or concern I have with the sales period is I know a lot of the fireworks stands use those to fundraise for, different things in the community. So if we're going to cut out the sales on the 5th, ideally, in my opinion, I'd like to see an open up the 27th of June so that they have those same amounts of days in order to sell, but no discharge on the 27th.
By the state.
That would be in violation of the
state.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like Mr. Jackson said, I don't know that they're even selling on the 5th actually here in town.
I don't know that they have. Part of our thought process was if we do have the day after the 4th where they can discharge them, hopefully that helps keep it to the 4th and the 5th and less on the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and those things from a practical sense. It gets down to regardless of what the ordinance is, there has to be an ability to enforce. As far as discharge, like I said, there hasn't really been any change in Cowlitz County. In Clark County, it seems that most folks have eliminated discharge on the 5th. And then beyond that, they either start the 28th or they've limited it to the 3rd and the 4th for discharge. Now, that's not,
I wouldn't be opposed to that either.
and statewide, there's 53 jurisdictions that limit discharge to 1 day, 15 that have it 2 days, 8 3 days, 7 4 days, 3 for 5 days, 0 for 6 days, 4 for 7 days, and 12 that have the 7.5, which starts on the 28th. It's a half a day on the 28th. So it's kind of across the board, but statewide, folks that do allow discharge, actually a single day is far and above the norm. That's what most.
Ms. Rip?
I just wanted to let you know that the clerk's office did make an attempt to get a hold of all the permit holders that sold fireworks this year, to let them know there was a workshop tonight, and was maybe coming to the council the next week.
Next week? They may, or the next meeting? Okay. 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 All right.
It's probably worth clarifying that in the state, any laws regarding fireworks cannot take effect for 1 year.
Right.
So
this
this
won't
would
affect next
effectively
year.
be regulating fireworks for the year 2020. 2019, we would be held to the current standard.
Mr. Jackson, can you speak to the discharge of fireworks on what would actually be New Year's Day or even a few hours on New Year's Eve?
I don't know what the standard is across the state there. We have never had sales during that time frame, and I don't believe the state allows sales then.
Okay.
They've just
What about-
allowed discharge.
Do we allow discharge?
We do allow discharge currently on the 31st and the 1st. And we didn't, after the committee discussion, we did not propose a change to that. So it was until, I think it's until 1 a.m. on the 1st. And I would say that, from a response standpoint, that has been less problematic than the 4th of July was.
The only thing I see is the people, I'm retired basically, but it's, these M80s are going off until 11 o'clock at night, and the people that have to work the next day, I mean, you can't sleep when they're going off. So that's my only concern, is for the people that have to get up and go to work the next morning and haven't had much sleep the night before, so. Ms. Rip?
We did have one of the vendors that was doing the display, I think it was for Planner's Day, and we sent the insurance requirements over to the city's insurance, and they had asked for higher limits, so that's something, I don't know if the safety committee looked at. I'm reviewing the insurance section, but I think that's something we need to be mindful of.
You mean restricting?
Well, so for instance, I think there's, I don't know all the details, but we had asked them to increase their limits, and then we found out that our code did not require that, but we also need to look at the state law. Because if you had an accident on a discharge or something and some individual was hurt, their limits weren't very high, and I could see that the liability for that would exceed, and then the city would be possibly responsible for any injury to somebody.
So the insurance
So
for
we need
the
to-
people that are doing
The discharge.
the discharges.
Yes. And the one gentleman had said that cost-wise, he was concerned about that because what it did to the cost of their policy. So I think that's something that we need to look into more and find out what limits we're looking at, what cost is it currently, what cost would it be to the vendor in the future if we did raise limits. This is a FYI.
Good to know.
So I'm in the mindset of 1 day.
You mean July 4th?
July 4th until midnight. For discharge. I have go to town on July 4th, but June 28th, June 29th, June 30th when they're going off at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and July 4th, you know, if July 4th was on a Saturday, great. There are a lot of people in my neighborhood. It sounds like World War II going off behind me. And I'm sure these are all very legal because my whole house is boom and lighting up, and I think it's great. That's fantastic. But I'm really not interested in celebrating July 5th. Neither are my animals. I have 2 dogs that are petrified. Well, one doesn't care as long as we feed him. But the other one, he doesn't do too well with it. So I'm of the camp that July 4th, let it go. But you know what? I'm really not interested in all the other days before and all the other days after. And I think it should, even though I don't think it will, I think stopping at midnight would be great. I understand that a law that's passed doesn't mean it's actually going to be enforced because it's unenforceable. But I think the message somewhat needs to be sent that enough is enough. Now, I'm only one member of this group. That's one opinion. We may have 7 different that says, oh, can we expand this? Can we let them do it all year? I mean, some folks might be interested in that, but I think that that's what we have to narrow down, is as at least a majority of this body, what they think an appropriate amount of time is for the discharge. I don't have an objection to the sales period at all. But the discharge period, I think, is it's a little, given the fact that not all these fireworks that are being let off are safe and sane. They're pretty loud, but they're beautiful all at the same time. So, I mean, I get it. I think it's fabulous that we celebrate a pastime, celebrate July 4th with that pastime. I think it's cool, but it's tough when it's a Tuesday night and you have to be at work at 5 o'clock the next morning and people are blowing off mortars at 2.
Does anyone over here have an opinion?
Washougal does it that way. I could get behind it.
Having it be one,
They just have one day for discharge, yeah.
and one day for New Year's Eve, or?
It doesn't show on this.
New Year's is just one day, isn't it?
New Year's, if
Yeah,
I understand,
just-
is 6 p.m. to 1 a.m.?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ridgefield recently moved, they voted just prior to the 4th this year to move to the single-day discharge as well, and that'll take effect next year for them.
Ms. Graham, do you have an opinion?
Yes, I think so. I'm sitting here mulling this over a little bit. I come from being on the side of people using it as a fundraiser, for one. So there's no problem with the sales part of it for me, because I think those people need their opportunities to have their funds to be able to do their events, whatnot through the year, their community service projects, whatever it may be. Been there on that side of that part. And it always is, the first time you hear fireworks go off and you look at the calendar and you look at the time and you think, oh, here we go. So if we could keep the sales, and even, I really wouldn't even have a problem with the discharge being the 1st through the 4th. And I'd be okay with that part. The discharge part could be shortened down a bit, but not the sales part. And the 5th of July, the holiday's over with.
Right.
So let's get on with life. But, yeah, I think that I would be happy with that part of it for at least that long. And I expressed earlier, families do like to get together, and sometimes we can't all get together. We got to do it the day before or 2 days before to do that little bit of celebration. And I think everybody has a right to have that celebration. So, but it can be shorter.
Yeah. The sales,
It's a compromising situation,
Yeah,
really,
it is.
on it all.
the sales, yeah, great. Like I said, standpoint of the people trying to get for their activities and, and sponsorships and stuff. But yeah, the discharge, the 28th, really, no, let's narrow it down, The 4th, I think, is a little extreme, but I'm kind of with Janice. The 1st through the 4th, great. I can see December go away, but it's all right for New Year's. It's a short time period for discharge on that one. The 1st to the 4th would be more of a discharge.
How about you, Ms. Hubbard?
I could probably live with 1st through the 4th, and sales, no sales on the 5th, and no discharge on the 5th. I'd be okay with that. I think that the New Year's Eve needs to stay. No sales, we can have it 6 p.m. on the 31st to 1 a.m. on New Year's Day. That's good, it's New Year's.
Yeah. Well, myself, I could probably go with discharging from the 1st through the 4th and leave the sales the same and no discharge on the 5th. So, Mr. Plaza.
Okay. I already said my piece about the sales, so I won't even go there. As far as discharge stuff, nobody brought it up, but I'll just throw this out there for the general public. There's no way I would ever support a ban on fireworks. It just seems ridiculous that, a holiday that's based on, us declaring independence from a tyrannical government, to have the government tell you can't do something is just stupid. That being said, there's also something to be said for common sense and, not being a jerk to your neighbors as well. So, I'm not thrilled about restrictions, but at the same point, I mean, if you want, so much freedom that you've got to be shooting off your fireworks in June, you can go outside the city limits to do that. Nobody's going to bother you. So it's the 4th of July, July 1st to the 4th, perfect. New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, knock yourselves out. But any further restrictions than that, then I wouldn't be on board with it.
Yes, Mr. Benjamin.
If we're concerned about people being able to raise money, there is something to be said for return customers who started on the 1st or 2nd, ran out and had to go back and get some more because they liked it so well. So, yeah, spreading it out is probably not a real bad idea.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So from hearing that, it sounds like to me that the request from a majority of the council is to have the discharge period from July 1st through July 4th?
Yes.
And stop at midnight on the 4th?
I think that needs to change, maybe.
Yeah, I do too. I think maybe 11 is plenty sufficient.
On the 4th? No, I'm thinking it needs to be 1 o'clock.
Oh, do you think 1 o'clock?
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
I was thinking 8:30.
Mrs. Graham.
Just one comment, and let's hope that the community and everybody involved who is going to shoot fireworks off, that they do use due diligence and play the safety factor for themselves. Be educated, be careful, be prepared, and enjoy themselves.
Mr. Goddard.
Being a planner, I'll make this a little more complicated.
Thank you.
You could always potentially do like a midnight weekend or 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock on a weekday. So that way, depending on what day it falls on in a year, people who have to work the next day wouldn't have the same problem with the Friday night, Saturday night celebrations.
Well, that'll make it easier to enforce.
That's the complicated part that I help contribute.
What was the direction on discharge on the 4th? Was it midnight?
Yes.
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 Well, I think it should be 1 a.m., but
No.
The state won't allow that.
I know.
Okay.
But I just, that's what I think.
So midnight on the 4th.
On the 4th.
Okay.
Okay, so do you have a little bit of direction there?
Yeah, so I will come back with the drafted ordinance. Same thing, eliminating the duplicative language. The other thing that's worth mentioning, we did add in that it would be illegal to discharge them on public property with
Right.
exception of streets and sidewalks. We did have an issue this year with folks going to Hoffman Plaza and discharging a bunch of fireworks that actually competed with the movie showing and.
Unless permitted?
Well, unless there's a public display with a permit.
Right.
Like Planters Days.
Right.
And then with that, I'll coordinate with Mary, and I think we would be ill-advised to do anything other than what our insurance company recommends for the insurance requirement on that.
So the only other thing I can think of is we had an off-season request for, I believe, the Chinese New Year, for one of the establishments that wanted to let off some fireworks for, I don't know, it was 15 or 20 minutes.
My thought would be those would be through a public
Permitted.
display permit,
Yeah.
which is regulated. They have to have a licensed pyrotechnician, they have to have a plan and a gauged fallout area. It's pretty comprehensive. We review all of those permits, we inspect the discharge sites, and we're aware of those. And currently, the permitting doesn't restrict a public display like that to any particular days. It could be any time. Obviously, when we get into a period like we are now with extended dry heat, typically we would not recommend approving a permit for this time, but that sort of thing. So I will come back with discharge on July 1st through the 4th, ceasing at 11 p.m. the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, midnight on the 4th, the 6 p.m. till 1 a.m. on the 31st and 1st, December and January, with sales the same as they had been proposed from noon on the 28th until 11 p.m. each day, up through the 4th of July with no sales on the 5th.
I think that's
reasonable.
And we'll bring back language about whatever the city's recommendation is on the liability insurance for public displays.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Is there anything else? Okay, we will go out of the workshop, and could I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, it's been first and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. I'll get it one of these days. Yeah.
There are some Canadian Americans who like to celebrate on the Thank you.